All right, it's exactly 6 minutes after 4, thanking all participants for their patience. We are very excited about the webinar um, that Seema ma'am is going to conduct today. Um, Seema Mahi Mukherjee is an experiential and integrated learning consultant, certified design thinking and innovation expert from IIT Delhi, and a trained happiness coach. She's the founder of multiple educational initiatives and the director of the Storytelling, Education and Arts India Council. She's an international storyteller, she's a puppeteer, and a toy pedagogy expert. She's passionate about creating joyful thinking, feeling, doing classrooms. I'm really curious to understand, ma'am, what thinking, feeling, doing classrooms are. With an MA in English Literature and a postgraduate degree in Education Leadership, Seema designs innovative curricula from early years right to the undergraduate level. She's a trusted advisor and confident to school principals and owners. She leads whole school transformation and teacher training with care and clarity. And that is partly why we were so excited when we were able to reach out and convince her to lead this webinar for us. Seema ma'am is known for her deep systemic approach. She addresses core issues to create long lasting, meaningful change in education. Ma'am, thank you so much for joining, and over to you, please.
Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Adab, and a very good evening to all of you. Thank you, Lead Group, for organizing this webinar, and thanks to all the school owners and leaders for taking out time and joining in. I would request that as we progress with the webinar, if you have any questions, please do put them in the chat window. I may not be able to read them immediately as I would be, talking to all of you. I think the lead team is going to take it up, and I would also be answering everything once we, complete this. So, every year, schools invest in technology, buildings, and policies. But the greatest return of investment comes from one place, and that is teacher well-being and retention. Teachers are not just the heart of the school, they are its rhythm, its breath, its memory. When we lose a teacher, we lose far more than a staff member. We lose connection, continuity, and care. Today is not about fixing teacher attrition. It is a space where we will explore the mindset, the strategies, and the culture that help us build ecosystems where teachers stay because they feel they belong. Karima, please put slide 3. Okay, thank you. Well, let me tell you a story, a real life story. A few years ago, during one of my school visits, please put on the next slide, Garima. A few years ago, during one of my school visits, I had a long conversation with a principal I deeply admire. Let's call her Mrs. Meera Srivastava. Well, she leaned in and said to me, I want to share something I've never spoken about publicly. I've been a principal of the school for over 7 years. I've been very proud of my systems, the way my school functioned, the effort I put into teacher training. But despite all that, while some of my teachers stay, but many joined and then left, we were always recruiting. And I often wondered, someone must be offering better pay. That is why they leave. But one day at a conference, I heard across the city another school, let's call it School A, similar size, same curriculum, same board, not dramatically different in salary or infrastructure. But while my school was constantly recruiting, School A seems to hold on to their teachers, not just for a year or two, but for 5, 6, and up to 10 years. Please put on the next slide. I thought we were doing everything right. We had organized 3 to 4 training sessions each year. Teachers got small gifts on their birthdays. We even added tea and snacks budget to the staff room. But then why were the teachers leaving? I wondered. What was that school doing differently? And then work got better of me, she said. Till one day, a parent visited the school and said, "Ma'am, my son feels sad. He told me teachers don't smile like they used to. The new ones leave so fast and they don't even know the names of the children. They don't even try. It is sad. His English teacher has changed 3 times already in 8 months. He likes the new teacher, but he wonders, will she stick on? How will he learn in such uncertainty?" The parent went away, but Mrs. Srivastav said that that was the moment when her professional pride cracked a little. A few days after that, the school owner asked her, "Why is it so hard to retain teachers? Is there something we are missing?" Well, that night she said that she made a list. She wrote down everything her school did for the teachers. Please put on the next slide. We trained them, she said yes. We praised them at functions, we planned rosters and events for them. We even have a wonderful event in which they competed, a singing, a competition kind of an event. We did all of it for them. But still they leave. And then Mrs. Meera decided to visit school A just out of curiosity. And here is what she noticed. They had a Friday check-in ritual where teachers simply shared about how their week went. She learned that in staff meetings, there were shout out boards. There were short acknowledgements from peer to peer. She learned that new teachers were always paired with a buddy. And she reflected, it was nothing fancy. No certificates, no stage drama, just simple human recognition. And the principal of school A said that made a difference. Well, Mrs. Srivastav came back and she looked at her list. And now she listed everything she did not do and thought about it. Next, she thought, we trained them, yes, but did we follow up? We praised them at functions, but did we thank them after long days? We planned roosters and events, but we never even asked them what they really needed. And that needed to change. So she planned. Because that day she realized that she and the entire system was rewarding performance, but not nurturing people. And before we ended our chat, she said something that stayed with me since. She said, teachers don't always leave for money. They leave when they feel small, silent, and invisible. And if I could go back, I would listen more, much more. Now I do. Well, what made a difference to this school? What truly made a difference wasn't big budgets or new buildings. It was that Mrs. Srivastav took out time to learn the best practices and then resolve her problem. Next. Now, I would like you to do a poll for me here. And this poll is the teacher retention litmus. The question is, what do you believe in the single biggest reasons teachers stay long term in your school? Okay. I can see a lot of people are answering. Okay, there is strong sense of belonging. Some say that clear growth and leadership opportunities. Some are saying freedom to innovate and express teaching styles. Okay, great. 13% people say that recognition and appreciation, great, and supportive leadership. Okay, really nice. Now, as we begin this session together, I am not going to overload you with the research and data right away. I want us to remember it's not about fixing systems, not just about that. It is also to grow a culture, because retention isn't always about contracts, it is about connection. Well, I hold Albert Einstein in very high esteem, and I admire his approach to problem solving through careful analysis. So he famously stated once, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I would spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and then 5 minutes thinking about the solution. And maybe we are going to do something like that today. Next. Okay. So let's talk about first the school and the environment where teachers function. So every school lives in a rich ecosystem. It is not just about what happens inside classrooms, it's about parents, students, leadership, and above all, the environment. Well, schooling is a noble cause, but yet running and managing a school, that is altogether a different game. Let's just take a look at it. In the meanwhile, we are sharing results. Okay. Okay. Now let's take a look at the slide. So we have the school owners who are the proprietors of the institution. They take all the risks associated with running the school and they reap a reward. And then they provide employment to the school leaders, to teachers. They provide education to the system. Well, we have principals, and sometimes school owners also double up as the principals and in certain schools. But we have the principals, and principals are the first layer of contact between school owners and everyday stakeholders. Well, and they are responsible for managing the daily affairs of the school and implementing policies and frameworks. Next is the teachers. Now, teachers render the services of the school. They interact with the students on a daily basis and the first point of contact for the parents. And then come the students. Like if you talk about it, they are the consumers of the services which are provided by the school, and they experience everything in the school on a day-to-day basis. Usually considered an indicator of performance for the institution because it is the results which matter. And who are the parents in this ecosystem? They are the customers of the school, and their main interest is the best development of their child. And they also provide revenue to the institution for the services of the school. But now between the school owners and the principals and the students and the parents, the most important people are the teachers. Teachers interact on daily basis for every little thing, and they are the torch bearers for the school. It's very important to understand this because we are talking about teacher retention and training in this, and we need to understand that they are the heart of the school, and that is why we are taking out this time to talk about them. Now, it is very important to retain them for many reasons. Can you think about some of the reasons, why teacher retention is important for you, and write in the chat, please. You could write in the chat, please. Why is teacher retention so important? Yes, Sagrika, they will results can be shown to you again. Garima, I request if we can do that. Okay, so Anjali is saying for loyalty, Tejashri is saying for building connectivity, Jaipuria school is saying stability, Reema Patel sustainability of learning process for betterment of students. Word of mouth, okay. For improving trust amongst the parents, absolutely. Loyalty, again, Rohini. Okay, we'll just take a few couple of more moments. Okay, here it is. The poll is there. Sagarika, if you want to see this and take a snapshot of it, please feel free to do it. Narsimhan says for improving trust amongst the parents. I hope you've seen this, Sagarika. Okay, all right. Okay, next. Next, please, Karma. Now, I made a few, go back, please. So, I listed out some of the reasons which are here, and you have given many of them: student development, better learning outcomes, definitely. So, let's break it up into 4 parts. Why are they so important? Why teacher retention is so important for students? It's for continuity of learning, like some of you have said, for stronger teacher-student relationships, improved student outcomes. For school as an institution, it preserves the school culture and values. They can look into deeper professional development. It strengthens the peer collaboration, mentorship. It supports the whole school, environment. For leadership, it is very important because it reduces the recruitment and training costs. And every time, and it also boosts the staff morale. And for school's image, some of you said it is very important. It is important for its growth as well, because the reduction in the recruitment and training cost, that money can go in for reallocation of funds for something else which is needed. And this also enhances school reputation, signals good leadership, attracts both quality staff and student admission, like some of you have already said. So this is why. And now that we have established that teacher retention is very important and why it is important, let's think about, how we build the team. Okay. Next, please. Okay. So let's, go on a different tangent and think that, maybe like a cricket team is being built. Okay. You have different roles. You will have a batsman, a bowler, a fielder, an all-rounder. These people will have different traits. Some will encourage others and motivate others when they lose a game. Some will say tomorrow is another day. Some will say more exercise, okay, more practice, and there'll be strict discipline. But there will be different personality traits, roles, and philosophies they work on. But they all work together as a team to play their best and win. And now, if we break up, from teacher retention, okay, we are talking about teacher retention and training. So we take the word teacher. So teacher is not next. Teacher is not a monolith. It is not just one word teacher, because we have so many different types of teachers. And so many people who are there who are as teachers. So let's break this a bit, okay? So teachers have their own beliefs, okay? They have their own core philosophies from which they function. They have different ways of working. They have their strengths and opportunities or areas to grow in. They function in different ways. And some teachers have similarities too. So based on a lot of research, we developed teacher archetypes. Well, there are many, but for this particular webinar, I've chosen 6 distinctly different ones. Okay. So now please, be mindful that this is not for naming types or labeling teachers, but it is about recognizing them in a staff room and tailoring your support for them. So let's go to the first archetype, which you must be familiar with. Next. The archetype, the mentor, okay? And we'll all find a mentor in one of our schools. They have empathy and life and guidance as superpowers. You will find this teacher in every school, a warm, intuitive, deeply connected with students, someone who believes that teacher's job does not stop at academics, but it is to guide how to live a life. Now, okay, so you will find, you can read the slide as well, and while I talk, you can say, the kind of impact this teacher creates is that they create deep bonds with students, and the students keep coming back to them and say, you changed my life. Now, can you identify one like this in your school? Or if you are the one, do write in the chat. Okay, great. As this is coming in, what do these people need most? They need to trust. They need to be trusted and a space where they are listened and supported. Now, thank you. I can see some of the comments in the chat. Okay, trying my best. Yes, I do. All right, thank you. Okay, all right. So let's move to the next archetype. And why are we doing it? Just to understand, and breaking teachers, like teacher retention, because it's not just one big body, it's smaller people who are there. Okay. So the next one, which many of us are familiar with, is the one who ensures discipline in the school and has a very structured approach, very authoritative, wants to believe in rules, okay, order, and students may fear that teacher, but then later on they come back to the teacher and they tell her that your structure helped me to develop time management and respect for rules. If you have one like this in your school, you can make a note of it. Let's go to the next archetype, the innovator. We all know this one. This would be the tech savvy, idea rich, excited by new challenges, creativity, curiosity, constant experimentation going on in the head, and can be a risk taker. Students become very engaged in the classrooms and with the innovator, and they start looking forward to the class. And what they're looking forward to it, what are we going to do today? What is the challenge? Well, this kind of archetype, you put them in a cage and say you can only work like this, follow this. Well, the cage doesn't work for them. They need a sandbox to play in. Okay, let's move to the next one. The marks-driven coach. Well, they are very important to the system. This teacher runs like a machine, okay? Weekly tests, ranking charts, detailed PTMs, high performance driver, and the teacher who says, like the first one said, the efforts is all which matters. This one says, where did you lose marks? Fix it now. Kya problem hai? You have to get to it. How could you lose even 1 mark? But they are the ones who contribute to the toppers in our schools. Okay. They also need recognition for their effort and emotional support as well. Next, you will find this one in every school, the overburdened warrior. Okay? And there is this teacher, she'll be saying yes to everything, doing so much of work that she becomes the invisible backbone for the school. Okay? And she feels that teaching is a calling, even if it is undervalued. This is her belief. She'll stay back after school hours, supervise stage rehearsals, even if she's tired, she'll do the work. And the impact is that this teacher becomes the unsung hero of the school and may burn out without support. So they don't need gifts. These teachers need genuine care, time off, and help carrying the load. Okay, and now we come to the 6th archetype. Next, the star teacher. Okay, well, you will find one in every school. They become the face of the school. They are charismatic. They are confident. They shine on every platform, whether it is annual day, parents' events, social media. They get a lot of applause and visibility. Okay, and the tips, they need visibility and space to lead, but they also need grounding and feedback. Next, please. Now, this is the team, and our team, team in the school, is a diversity of archetypes, and these archetypes need to be managed, okay, well, so that they can bring out their best. Let's have the second poll, okay, the archetype mirror. Okay, can you please take this poll and write here? Okay. Most common, the mentor, and people are writing in. Okay. Have more of mentors till now. Okay, we are waiting. Great, well done. So glad to see that you are all participating in the poll. Okay. And we have more people writing in. So, okay. Now, many of you have answered and some answers are remaining. Okay. Great. So, 13% are disciplinarian, 23% innovators, 43% mentors, 10% marks-driven coach, 7% overburdened warrior. Yes, they are very few, but they are. And 3% star teachers. Well, if anyone wants to take a picture of this, you can do that. Okay. Let's share the results. All right. Excellent. So, see, a team is not made by just one type of people. The team is made by all these different archetypes. And as you were, listening about them, there would be some you feel that, okay, we can't place them here or here, and they are different. Yes, there are different more archetypes as well. But my purpose was to make you understand that we are leading team where people come from different motivations, okay, different strengths, different needs, and we need all types to make a team. Now let's pause. We learned about archetypes, and learning about these archetypes, if you think about it, what would make each of them stay in a school? Okay? And I'm not saying, teacher attrition or leave the school, but I'm just saying it from this lens. What would make each of them stay in a school? Now, if we think about it, okay, we can see it from the lens of next. Okay, next. Next. Okay, great. Thank you. Now, okay, you must be familiar with this. This is Maslow's law of hierarchy, which talks needs people have and how they function and how it grows. So some of the teachers in a school would be there for physiological needs, because if we understand their needs, we can fulfill them, we can retain them better. So that is why we are looking at it. Okay, we are not just jumping in at strategies, we are actually looking at making strategies, okay, understanding people, which would help us. So those who have physiological needs, they would be happy if they get timely salary, they get basic benefits, clean work environment, adequate rest, water, meals. Okay, so their physiological needs are met. And as these needs are met, okay, some people would be here, but some would need safety needs, okay. Along with all this, they want some kind of job security. Okay, some clear policies which they can follow, a safe environment to be in, some place to, be themselves, some kind of emotional safety. Now, some of them would be at safety needs. Some people would be at the need for love and belonging. Okay, what keeps them going? There's this teacher who may not teach the best, but she's the most loved teacher, and her need could be love from children, and she would want to be, heard. She would want to bond with others, feel involved, and get this sense of connection. So you would be having people at this level. Okay, then you would be having certain teachers, okay, who need appreciation for the effort and skill they bring in, okay, recognition by the peers and the leaders that they have experience, they understand many things. And then you have the highest level, which is self-actualization. And you might have certain teachers who are there, who are not really there, for the money, it's okay if, they're not there for to be loved. Maybe they do like to be loved, but they are not there for that. They are there because they want to make a difference, because they are there to, create maybe future leaders, and they work with this purpose. So if we understand this, that teachers are there for different needs, so how we want to retain them would also be different. Okay. Now, next, now teaching a profession, okay, is something different. It is a job. You can call it a profession, but many times teachers join because it gives them the ikigai. They feel what they are good at. Okay, they are effective. They have job stability. You get paid for what they are good at, so they get job stability. Then they are doing what they love. Okay, they have a passion, which is teaching, and they are doing what the world needs most. So they are making a difference in lives of students. Okay, so this is also very important to understand, because many teachers are here for all this purpose, and teachers are, that is why, are different, and even in law they are considered different than other kinds of employees. So now, with armed with all this knowledge about the archetypes, about the laws of Maslow's laws, which govern teachers retention, the ikigai and teacher retention, let's just think about, why do teachers leave? Next, please write in chat. Okay. Now, as you are writing, we have certain things here already on the screen. Okay. We hear teachers, they don't always leave for salary or better offers. Sometimes they leave because of culture, leadership, because of voice or no voice. And in many cases, the reasons may go deeper and quieter. So it could be that they feel unheard, they feel they are being constantly corrected, never appreciated. And you can think of the archetypes also and keep connecting here. There could be mismatch of values, there could be lack of trust. Some leave because they have no growth path, and some simply burn out. Now, let's just flip, this and say that if I were a teacher, why would I stay in my own school? Let's think of that too. This is not a space for any blame. It is just about understanding the emotional truth so that we can respond with empathy and not assumption. Well, some people who I interviewed said that teachers don't leave organizations. They said teachers leave leaders, and they leave teams, and they leave cultures. Some said that teachers may leave because of how work is communicated, managed, and received. So that brings us to, what are the leadership styles and what are the working styles of the leaders. Some said the teachers leave when they feel small, silent, and invisible, like the first case study which we did, the real life story which we did earlier. Now, the first one, and often heard nowadays, is that they leave because of toxic environment. Okay. Now, what is toxic environment? Next. So can you write in chat what according to you is toxic environment? And then we will go on for some of the examples. Okay, you've already written toxic workplace politics. Yes, Rima, I can read this. Lack of recognition, partiality. Okay. Frustration, yes. More work expectations, biases, politics. Okay. This is pulling each other's legs. Okay. Negative environment. Okay. Great. And as you're writing in, let's come to some of the points which are there, some examples of toxic environment. Next. So, environment can be considered toxic when you find that there is no space for open dialogue or disagreement. It's like every voice is expected to echo the leadership. Okay, yes, yes, yes. And then what happens? There could be favoritism, there could be cliques. And these are not spoken about. These work in silent ways in schools which don't even, these are reputed schools they work in. It could be any place. Okay, there is a silent punishment culture, exclusion. Some of you would be aware of it. Then there could be places where concerns are brushed aside. Okay, some places where the teacher wants to grow personally and has a growth plan, but that personal growth is seen as disloyalty or ambition, and it's not seen in a positive way. It threatens others. Okay, then you can have passive aggressive communication. There could be avoidance of a person, isolation, public humiliation. I remember a teacher telling me that she would discuss whatever she was doing with the leadership, and then when she did, and if she failed, the humiliation was always public, but appreciation was not. And whatever she did good, the credit went to someone else. Whatever went wrong, she was blamed. So she was an excellent teacher, but she left, sadly. Now, sometimes teachers also leave because there is just top-down feedback. There is no 360-degree feedback for others to improve. And on certain archetypes which you saw, they consider micromanagement, okay, as a toxic environment. So there are many examples of toxic environment, and some of you have already done. And now, with all this information, okay, of why teachers leave, what they leave, who they leave, what are the archetypes, what are the needs and motivations, let's move to the strategies. And the first strategy was the best of all. I was talking to Mrs. Sachdeva just few days before this webinar, and she's an HM of a reputed school in NCR. I admire her greatly. And there are teachers who have joined 20 years back, 25 years back. They are still there. A few teachers change, definitely, because some get transferred out because of their spouses or getting married, or some have to go because they're retiring. But the ones who are retiring also don't want to go. Okay, so I was asking her that, do you have a magic wand, which you cast, and that is why the teachers stay in your school? She said, my magic wand or my superpower is listening. So what I do is that I listen deeply. I listen deeply to what is said and what is unsaid and what is in between the lines. I listen and I do not interrupt. I listen not to argue, not to find fallacies, but I listen to understand them. I know I can't solve all the problems. As an HM, my hands are tied. But I realize that just by listening deeply, many teachers feel better, they feel lighter, they feel someone sees them, someone hears them, and they stay longer. So, let's try to listen, okay, to some of the comments which go on, which we think these are passing remarks, or some complaint someone is saying. So let's listen to this, okay, And let's read this. So if a teacher is saying that I gave a feedback after a workshop and no one read it, what is she actually feeling inside? She's feeling unheard. Okay. And what does it imply? That she has no voice in the decisions. So if she's feeling unheard, what do we do for her? We have to give her voice. But where we will talk about, okay, and how we will talk about it. Now, most important is to listen, what they are feeling. Now let's see the next one. No one showed me how to manage 42 children in one room. Now this was a teacher who came from a smaller school and there were just 22 children in her class. But now that she has come here, okay, in this new school, there were 42. And she found it very difficult to manage. She felt completely unsupported. Okay? So what it implies, if she didn't know how to manage them, when her induction was done, maybe something could have been done better. And what shall we do? We can give her a mentor or a guide who she can go to, who can talk to, like a peer, who can help her. Okay, now let's see the next one. Okay, because I'm going through each one of them, because each of these and what people say, and they say as a passing remark, a small thing, but what they're actually feeling within, and managing this feeling is very important, because that when we take action on that, that will retain them. Okay, no one noticed. I stayed up till 2 a.m. for the annual day script. Others were called upon. When the annual day happened, their names were called out, they were seen, so they were appreciated, applauded. But no one noticed me. So what is this teacher saying? She's saying that I feel undervalued. I feel that there is no recognition for me. Okay? And no recognition for all the hard work I put in. And what shall we do? What is she looking for? She's looking for appreciation. So what do? Appreciate. How? Is it only in school assemblies or otherwise? We'll talk about that as well. Okay? Now, I was teaching, invigilating, running events, doing admissions, everything. So what is she feeling? She's feeling overburdened. And what is implies that there is a lot of administrative stress on her. What does she need? She needs support. Maybe she needs some system which would make her life easier, but some support with that. And then one more. What is next for me? Am I going to teach till retirement? Am I going to just be doing this all my life? So there would be people who want to do something more, okay? And they feel that they are undirected. They don't have any clarity about their growth. And if they don't have any clarity about their growth, what do they really need? They need a clear growth path. And understanding that makes all the difference. But that can only happen if we listen without any judgment. So can we create moments in the school for safe conversations? Maybe teacher circles, leadership, open doors, team tune-ups. Sometimes people say that, we don't have time to listen. We have so much, but please remember, we have to make time to listen. And listening is not a weakness, it is wisdom. Now, do you remember any time that someone truly listened to you, maybe in the school or outside? Or truly listened to you as a teacher or a leader? How did it make you feel? You could write in the chat if you feel like. Well, next. Now, we talked about listening. But listening, it is not just what Mrs. Sachdeva said, that sometimes I can't do anything about it. But there are many times something can be done about it. Okay? And what can be done is spaces to have open conversations, pause and reflect protocols, places that teachers feel that they are not alone, they are together, and a culture, most importantly, of creating a culture of trust and belonging. Okay. Now, let's see more. Okay, we talked about the teacher who feels unappreciated, unseen, The one who was writing scripts when no one was looking. Next. Okay. So what are they looking for? Recognition and appreciation. Okay. And appreciation of what? Appreciation of work which is visible and invisible as well. Like that work, working till 2 a.m. was invisible. Then you can have peer recognition. Okay. Now, recognition doesn't always need to be a trophy. It doesn't need to be done on annual days or on special events only. It can just be a shout out in a meeting. It could be a heartfelt note. It could be a child's thank you card into a board. Okay, and many more. Like you can see some of the examples here. Okay, so you have a place in the staff room where peers appreciate each other. Okay, and they write little things. There's a school leader who's going around in the school and sees something, notices something which a teacher is doing and appreciates that. Just write a small note, incident, name of the teacher, and shout out to her or him. Okay, so these simple things. Again, you could have a day in which, a month where students actually write appreciation notes to teachers, that this is how you helped me or this is why you matter to me. So basically, when we celebrate both visible and invisible work, we are telling teachers that you are seen and you matter. Okay, so from peer to peer acknowledgement to a kudos corner or a staff shout out or a small certificate which highlights one big quality which you have, any of it can go in a long way. Okay, and these small, seemingly small things actually lead to big impacts. Next. A doctor sees one patient at a time, but a teacher, we ask them to be present for every child, every period, every day. But who was present for the teacher? And teaching is not just intellectually demanding, it is emotionally exhausting as well. Teachers can carry worry, grief, pressure, expectations, and often without a break. They can carry it from school, they can carry it from environment, they can carry it from home, and they are carrying all of it and they're showing up the best they can. So if we can have a teacher recharge circle, so all these which I've been talking about since listening and even before that in understanding, these are all go into your strategies. So you have a teacher recharge circle, which is a gentle invitation. What is it an invitation for? It is an invitation, okay, for a space where there is no performance, deadline, or agenda. It is just presence. Okay? But who holds this circle is very important, because if someone is going to trust you, the sharing has to be kept confidential. One. Second, never be used against a teacher. Third, never referred to as a casual comment in any conversation, in any setting, to put down someone or to make fun of someone, because then this will not be successful. Okay, so it could be sharing like this. It could be just 5 minutes of listening to some kind of a music every day when teachers come in, or have a daily ritual. I have one in which we do each cell in my body is happy and we sing it. Okay, there are other things also when we try to do in some schools, and we were doing this teacher recharge circle. Many teachers shared from their heart. I would not share what, but they shared, and there was some of them cried as well, because they were sharing from their heart for the first time, and there was someone listening to them. Okay. Now I went to the school, and we thought that we have put this in practice in the school. They had done all the training, everything, and how to develop teams. But when I went back to that same school 2 years after that, one of the teachers came to me and said कि क्या हम फिर से रोने धोने वाली वर्कशॉप कर सकते हैं? So she had given it a name, teacher recharge circle को नाम ये दिया था. So I asked her, why do you want to do it agar, if you feel that way, Rona Dona? So she said that, you know, I shared for the first time and it was listened to and the confidence was held. I really liked it. पर फिर नहीं हुआ ये. अब और भर गया है, you know. More is collected within me and I want to share. So if we can have people with these kind of groups, it would be great. And you don't need to do it every day. You know, you could have something simple, you know, listening to music or some kind of a thing which we do weekly. You can have, and there are musics which de-stress as well. You could do something on a fortnightly basis, and there can be something like, you know, a circle time which is done on a monthly basis. But basically, we are checking in what is bringing you joy, what is weighing on you, and what support do you need. And this is to actually support them. It is, you know, so because teachers are not machines, they're also human beings. And while they are shaping other humans, and while they're nurturing others, we need to nurture the nurturer. Otherwise, we risk burnouts, disconnection, and quiet exits. And no one will even say this. This is why I'm leaving. So let's move on to the next one. A very simple but a powerful idea. Teachers observe each other's classes. But very important here, okay? It is not to judge, okay? Not to evaluate how good you are, but it is to learn. So when it is done with this thought that you are not being evaluated, that you are being, you know, observed here so that someone else can learn from you, someone else can get guidance from you, then they feel, you know, that they are being understood, appreciated, and they are growing together. And imagine a teacher saying, one teacher saying to another one that I saw how you handle the transition, you know, so smoothly. Can I try this in my class? Would it be okay? And when this becomes the norm of a school, then your school culture shifts from isolation to idea sharing, okay? From individual survival to collective growth. And that is what we want in a team, collective growth. Now, moving from here, you know, practice exchange, let's move to the next one. This is team tune-up, okay? So team tune-up, what is it? Just like we tune the entire, you know, when you have an event and there's a music system, the voice has to go out, it should not be shrill, tuning is done for that. So similarly, it is a structured process which invites teachers to identify what is working, what needs adjustment, and how to collaboratively find solutions. Okay, so there is an open dialogue, there is shared ownership, and there is a culture of continuous improvement without blame. Okay? And this without blame is a very, very important thing. So we are taking, it's like stock taking, okay? So what's working well, what feels stuck, what is stressful, what is confusing, can we support or change something? So here you would find that this builds a culture of open dialogue, shared ownership, collaborative problem solving, and all key to retention and morale. Okay. Next, and this could be the first slide we started, or this, it is coming here, okay, anywhere. This is very, very important. The shared vision, the move from I to we, because school is not just a building, it is a living ecosystem of values, of dreams, of beliefs, and for it to thrive, we need a shared direction. But often the school has a vision, okay? But teachers are not included in shaping it or even understand it deeply. The shared vision practices like Manthan sessions, okay, where you meet with the existing teachers and you talk about the school vision, talk about what is working, what is not, the protocols which have been put in place, what is actually happening, whether they are aligned to it, all of it. Or you can have, or during onboarding practices, you can have, you know, so many different ways of doing it. But Why this is important is because it is a move from I to we, okay, and it is a move from here is what I expect from you, which generally happens during onboarding process, that this is what we expect from you, to here is what we are building together. Okay, so we coming together to build something, and that is what creates belonging. So if you want belonging and fulfill that need of belonging, we need to have time for manthan meetups, we need to have time for samvad, we need to have time for onboarding. Okay. Next, please. Okay. So till the time the next one comes up, yeah, there it is. The use of, no, go back please. The use of technology, okay. And we all know that tech can be very, very useful for us, but tech to unburden and not to add the load. And let's be honest, teachers are already overworked. So if we add technology and without empathy and without giving them, understanding of it, how to use it, providing support to use it, then we are just giving them one more thing to do. So if we are doing it, we need to give them support, make them fluent in using it, okay, and give it to them to ease their work. And they can be supported through digital systems like attendance, lesson planning, feedbacking, it could be assessments, it could be homework. Okay, and I'll just take 5 more minutes. Okay, just 5 more minutes. So now we come to a very, very important part, and teachers can leave because of this when they don't have clear growth paths. Can you come to the next one, please? So some of the top reasons why teachers leave is stagnation, like you found in that, okay, when we had those reasons teachers leave. So they feel that they are doing the same thing year after year, but growth for them doesn't always mean that they want to become a vice principal or a principal. Their growth can also be that they like something and they want to become a mentor, or they want to be the curriculum lead, or they want to be the tech coach, or a professional development facilitator, and they want to start taking small workshops. So they go for a workshop, they learn something, and they come and do micro teaching. So we need to actually talk to them, understand what are they need, and then chart with them a growth path. Okay, now so if they have a growth path and they know that where can we go, and we need to support them in that by providing them coaching, climbing. So when they know clarity, how can they grow, where can they grow, how, what they are and what they can become. So when the teachers feel that there is a ladder to climb, or you know um, there is something that they can lean against and which will help them climb, they feel more connected. And so it is very important to have a growth path for teachers, and having leadership from within is great as well, because you have already nurtured these people, and if they grow and they take positions of responsibility for you and help the school grow, that's always much better because they are aligned to the culture of the school. Now this also brings us to continuous professional development. Okay, now many schools do it, and some do it very well as well, but many times which I have seen, that the training topic is top down. Okay, many times teachers feel very disconnected from the real, the topic is disconnected for them. They want to learn something else, they're struggling with something else that doesn't excite them, and it seems like a chore, like another thing to do. It should feel like a gift, that it fuels joy within them, curiosity within them, and enhances their skills. And it is when teachers grow that they stay. So what is very, very important is that when we are holding the professional development workshops, we design it around teachers' needs. Okay. Next. We train teachers for what is meaningful and useful for them. Do they get time and support to apply the new learning? We need to think about it. And are they invited to lead, mentor, and co-create learning opportunities? We also need to think about it. And it is very, very important, which I think is, do not put people in boxes. Isko yahi aata hai, only this much they know, they will stay here. Give them opportunity to discover themselves through these continuous professional development workshops as well. Okay. Can you come to the next slide, please? Okay, and as she comes to the next slide, let me tell you that, I've had many teachers come to me in my workshops, and when I was training them in storytelling and pedagogy, they learned the tools, and now they have, some of them have also become professional storytellers, and along with their teaching practice, they also, have storytelling, and if storytelling is added to how they teach, it really adds extra in a classroom and holds the kids' attention. So people can discover so many things about themselves. Some of them said that they didn't even think they could talk in public, and now they are commanding presence everywhere. So, but how do we embed this culture of professional development? So some things which are really fine in workshops, okay, I'll share. One is the leadership involvement. Okay, the principals and HODs should also at least attend one of the workshops. No, it comes from them. Then they are modeling this, they consider, they hold it important, the teachers hold it important. Okay, then the time allocation should be done prior. Like when you have the academic calendar, plan the workshops then. Which ones are you going to do, and what experimentation is to be done in the classrooms then, and what is the post-training application? How will it be covered? Okay, not just that one-off workshop happening somewhere. Then you maintain the professional development portfolios of teachers with, with files, photos, samples, reflections, not just certificates. Okay. Then you have peer facilitation to encourage trained teachers who have taken, so you have groups, maybe they're taking different workshops, and then they can run 15-minute mini sessions for others, and that would also help you create leadership and ownership within. And celebrate application. Okay, acknowledge that, okay, this has been done and it is being implied, and I can see this effort has been put in. Maybe results have not been coming yet, or results have come in too, but all of it is appreciated. Next. Okay, this can be done if we have a before, during, and after model. Okay, so before the training, we do a need analysis, and this can be differentiated. Okay. Next, we can just come to this later. Next, yeah, great, this one. Okay. So no, go back. Okay. All right. So, the need analysis and differentiation by teacher experience, subject, the content, okay. The pre-training, so the context setting. At times you walk into workshops and you ask teachers, they just say that we were told to attend workshop. So it is very important when teachers come armed, understanding what is going to happen, what are the objectives, how are they going to apply it later, where will they apply it. So there needs to be a conversation with the between the teams in the school before the training is done. Then selection of the resource person. Like I can give you one example that for one state, a new person, like, I don't have anything against anyone's age. I think wisdom can come in all ages and shapes and sizes. So, but for a particular group of teachers who are very, very senior teachers teaching for more than 20 years, resource person was sent in. She was 25 years old, and the teachers didn't have any problem with the content. Okay? But they just were not willing to listen because they felt that you haven't even considered us. So which kind of resource person are you choosing? They felt that hame to aata hai. What is this person going to tell us? So selection of resource person, you have to see who's coming. Okay? And same thing, we sent another senior person, and there was a very positive response to her because she went, she talked to them, she bonded with them, and she listened to them. And they said that, yes, I mean, there was nothing wrong with the other person. She was very good, but we felt that we also know more. Okay? So you have to be very aware. These are very sensitive topics about it. So, and during training, there should be clear expectations. There should be active engagement. One thing I would like to add is many people say that we do trainings. Please, during the trainings, do not disturb and do not pull away teachers or whoever. Please, we can put everything to stop for some time, because anyway, if we are not there, things will still go on. So please let them attend, not just being physically present, being physically, mentally present in every way without any fear that I'll be called for this purpose, or whether any thought I'll be called for this purpose, because this discontinuity in the training doesn't really, lead to good results. So after the training, there has to be a follow-up. Okay, there can be a feedback for the facilitator. There can be a feedback of what is learned, and reports are generally made. But then someone to go and observe how it is plan with them how to put it in practice, and how is it being put in practice, and what support is required from the school side. Next, and you can share the poll here. So we talked about many strategies, okay? Practice exchange, we talked about teacher recharge circle, leadership, weekly reflection, growth path, conversations, pause and progress, team tune up, listening as a superpower. So which strategy from today are you most likely to implement first? Okay, thank you. I can see the results come in. So teacher exchange, practice exchange, peer observation, teacher recharge circle, leadership tracker, growth path. Okay, pause and progress, team tune up. Okay, very interesting. Okay, everyone has. So 46% of people have participated in it. And let's get the poll results. Okay, many of you are saying teacher recharge circle. 8% have said growth path conversations. Some have said pause and progress, team tune-up. Practice exchange. And remember, when you do peer observations, it is not to evaluate, it is to share best practices. Great, teacher recharge circles. Okay, 24%. So, all right. Okay. Now, can I tell you that there is a best retention strategy? Do you know what it is? You want to know? Let me tell you next. The best retention strategy, that is the one which you will actually do. Okay? One which you will actually do consistently, every day, daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, yearly basis, whatever time you set it to. You will do it year on year, because teachers don't want just another strategy or a policy to come in and then not be paid attention to and just go out of the window. So the best retention strategy is the one which you will actually do consistently, at the duration which you set for it. Now, to manage this, okay, sometimes, we also need help as leadership. So here's a leadership tracker for you. You can take a snapshot of it if you want. And, every week, this is a weekly tracker. You can make a monthly tracker as well. I made a weekly one for you. And here, you can see for yourself, sometimes we are doing many things and sometimes we don't remember what all we have done. So you can tick these. I think this would be useful, this leadership tracker. And finally, what are the voices that we want to hear? We want to hear voices like next. If you have already taken a snapshot, please indicate And I would say next slide. The voices we want to hear is of a student saying that I love how a teacher explains things. She always tries something new in class. Even when we go wrong, she helps us figure it out. The principal saying, when a teacher joins, we welcome them like family. Each one gets a mentor. We observe classes and give gentle and constructive feedback. And most importantly, we listen. The school owners say, our teachers stay because they grow here. They feel they belong. Some have even taken leadership roles. It makes business sense too. Less hiring costs, better student results. Okay. And let's see what the teachers are saying. When we have a teacher say, the salary may not be the highest, but I love this school. I feel safe. I feel seen. I feel heard. And I know that I make a difference. Because a school is only as strong as the teachers who feel seen, supported, and inspired from within. And if we want children to thrive, we must first build schools where teachers stay. Not because they have to, but because they want to. Because they believe in the heartbeat of that place. And this brings us to the end. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. You can put it in.
Hi, Seema. Thanks so much for such an interesting session. We do actually have a couple of questions. Manoj Kumar Bansal is asking, why does money play such a big role in retention? And there's a second question as well, which in the interest of time, I'll share right away. Meenakshi Sharma would like to know what measures can be taken by schools to retain their teachers. I think she's essentially asking for a quick summary or the most important measures.
Okay, so that's what we talked about, throughout the webinar.
I know.
What actions
So
to be
maybe
taken.
just, some of the
all
biggest
the actions you need to take, but the best one I said is the one which you begin with. So, all the ones which we go to. And for the first question, why does money play such an important role? I would request if you can put up this slide again, and I'll go over it again. This one is the Maslow's law. This is slide 19, I think. Slide 19, please. Yeah. 21 now. It is showing 21 on your screen. Yeah. Great. Okay. Why does money play an important role? Okay. Money is, you have physiological needs, which are the maximum, okay, which we say that is the biggest band. And people need timely salaries and basic benefits to make their houses run. Okay, sometimes people leave for money. Sometimes, not always, because there are people who stay when they feel, the money is less, but the environment is good. So I don't want so much of pension. This is the team I feel comfortable. So they want to stay there. But at times, money matters to them. When they don't feel this kind of belonging, when they don't feel that they are going anywhere, they are reaching anywhere, then they feel that at least in that other school which I go to, I'll get more money.
We do actually have a couple more questions that have come in. Tejashree Sadanand is asking, why is teacher salary so less? From Jaipuria School, we have a statement along the lines of, we find less integrity in teachers now. Even when we are providing support and facilities, they don't think a moment before switching. What can be done?
Because I...
Sure. Okay, so let's go with Tejashree's questions.
Why is the salary so less?
Why is the salary so less? And she's added another question as well. teachers' increment in private school is very less compared to government schools. What should be done in this regard?
Okay, so first of all, let's see what we call private schools. We have private aided schools, private unaided schools. We have schools in urban areas, we have schools in rural areas. So, schools is also not just one category, there are all different types of schools, and different schools have different fees. Okay, and according to those fees and the importance a school owner has, okay, or whatever needs, whatever the number of admissions is, whether it is met or no, what are the expenses. So some salary is fixed for the teachers. Okay, schools have different salary levels. Okay, they also pay when they feel and they value a teacher, they will pay money. But some schools have less salary, that is because of their own, ecosystem. Now if I am in Gurgaon and an international school is there, which is again a private school, the salary could be very high. But if I go to one remote place somewhere in, a rural area, maybe with my same expertise, my same knowledge, everything same, the whatever is the ecosystem of that place, my salary could become very less. So it's a very dynamic thing. It can't be one reason for it.
Right. From Jaipuria
I,
school,
if you ask me what I think about teacher salaries, I'll tell you, I think teachers should be paid the best amount because they are building minds.
true.
There are countries in Europe where they pay highest to teachers, doctors, and engineers, equivalent. I believe that.
From Jaipuria school, we have a statement around or rather about the integrity of teachers. Even when they are provided support and facilities, they don't think before switching. So, what can be done is the question.
Can you please repeat that? If they are provided?
Even if they are provided support and facilities, I assume by the school administration,
Yeah.
they tend to not think so much before shifting to another school. So the
Absolutely.
question is, what can be done?
What can be done? Okay, now let's keep coming back because I put this up here, this slide here. This is very, very important. If you understand the needs of a teacher, that would help you. So when we say that we are providing them timely salary and providing them basic facilities, we are talking about physiological needs. Okay, now which type of teacher is leaving is an important thing. For the teacher, where physiological need is met and that is all she wants, she will stick around. But for a teacher for whom esteem matters, now if you can look at this, esteem matters most, okay, and she wants status, recognition from everyone, she wants freedom to do things, try out new things, but there is such a close structure that she is not able to. The appreciation doesn't come. She doesn't feel recognized. Okay, she is not able to showcase all what she can do. Despite the physiological needs being met, esteem needs not being met, she could leave. There could also be some teachers who are at the self-actualization. You know, they don't they are there because they want to make a difference to the world. Okay, for them that is what teaching is. That they are creating leaders like Abdul Kalam maybe. Okay, and they are thinking about that, and they want more opportunities to innovate, to lead. Okay, they want autonomy in their teaching style. This is, I understand there's a lesson plan which is given to me, but I want to teach it this way. I think it will be better for you. Or they want time where there is reflection which can be done, or they want some mastery in something else. Okay, and they have all these needs, self actualization needs. But what are we meeting? We are meeting their physiological needs by providing them basic salary, but this is not being met, so they leave. So if we understand this, that what are the needs and where are people, okay, this one, we understand the archetypes. That is why I spent a lot of time on those, okay, because if we understand all this, we will understand why people leave. Shalini?
Hi. Sorry, I had a bit of a network issue for a bit. Thank you, Seema ma'am, for leading such an insightful webinar. We've already crossed the time limit by 25 minutes, so I won't take very long. Garima, can you please go to the very end of the presentation? I just wanted to share a quick introduction on Lead Learning Systems. Can you go to the next slide? So we are Lead Group. We are India's largest and fastest growing school learning systems company. Our vision is to bring excellent education to every child. And on the screen is basically some numbers that give you a sense of our reach and presence. We currently are in 400 plus towns, cities, villages with partnership with 8,500 plus schools. We're also therefore engaging and improving learning outcomes, 3.8 million students across India. And also, this whole conversation was about teachers. So we also help to train and we help to really make it easier to teach for nearly 60,000 plus teachers across the country. Next slide, please. Just to give you a sense of what constitutes a learning system, for many of us, this is a new term. Essentially, a learning system is an integrated system. It includes books, it includes audiovisual aids for the classroom, and it also includes activity kits to make sure that teaching learning is happening in an integrated way and in a truly multimodal format in Indian schools. Next slide, please. On the screen are numbers that are very easy for you to contact in case you need any information at all about Lead Group and how Lead can help your school grow, how Lead can actually transform your classrooms and help each student discover their true potential. Please take a screenshot. We are happy to address any questions if you just call us or email us on the number below. And if you need any more information, please do visit our website. Thank you so much, and that's it. Once again, Seema ma'am, thank you so much for such a passionate and deeply detailed presentation. We've shared a link for all participants in the chat window to share their feedback. And if you have any suggestions for future webinars in terms of topics, etc.
Is Mr. Siva Prasad Tripathi asking for the leadership tracker?
Is this in the Q&A or the chat window?
Okay.
I don't see anything in the chat window. Is this in the Q&A?
I can see Mr. Siva Prasad Tripathi asking yes. Okay.
So it's on the screen, sir,
if
if you'd like to take a
Mr.
screenshot.
Tripathi.
Okay, thank you so much. Once again, we'll see you soon in the next webinar. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone.